About 15% of American men do not have a single close friend. Not a coworker, not an acquaintance, but a friend. The same number in 1990 was 3%. It is now 5 times higher than it was when your father was your age. And the church has been telling you what is wrong for 2,000 years. Aristotle was telling you almost the same thing 3 centuries before Christ. You were not designed to do this alone. And the country you live in has spent 40 years dismantling the places that made not being alone possible. Hi, I'm Jonathan Roberts. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. This is episode 2 of Applied Christianity series. Same structure, we're going 4 layers deep, what you can see, what reason alone says, what scripture adds, and what this church specifically teaches. I will tell you, when I move from one to the next, so you could keep along and we're not blending anything. So today the topic is loneliness. Specifically, what has happened to men? And specifically, what has happened to the places that we used to gather? So let's get going. Layer 1, just the numbers. In 1990, 3% of American men said they had no close friends. In 2021, that number was 15%. It was quadrupled in just one generation. At the other end of the survey in 1990, 55% of men had 6 or more close friends. Today, 27% do, cut in half. Gallup's 2025 data found that 25% of American men between 15 and 34 felt lonely for much of the previous day. That is the loneliest young male cohort in the Western world. And you can guess the health consequences, but let me name them anyways. The meta-analysis of 148 studies found that chronological loneliness carries a mortality risk equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. The Surgeon General's 2023 advisory names social isolation as one of the strongest predictions of suicide. Nearly 4 in 5 American suicidal deaths in 2022 were from men. That is the human side. Now the structural side, because none of this is happening in a vacuum. Between 2014 and 2019, the time Americans spent with friends dropped 37% in 5 years before the pandemic. Bowling centers, the ones Robert Putnam wrote about in the year 2000 in his book called Bowling Alone, are down another 32% since 2005. 25 years after he warned us, and we are accelerating instead of correcting. This is the name for the buildings we lost. Socialist Ray Oldenburg, let me get that right, called them third places. Home is your first place, work is your second place, and third place is somewhere else. It's neither work or home. A dinner, a barbershop, a church hall after mass, a VFW post. Somewhere you go to regularly with regulars where the point is not what you accomplish, but that you just show up. Third places have 3 things in common. They are neutral ground. They are accessible and either free or cheap, and conversation is the main activity, not consumption, not entertainment, but just talking. We have almost none of these left. We have replaced them with our phones in our own homes, and then we have wondered why we are so dang lonely. So let's jump on to layer 2, natural law. Reason on its own. You do not have to be Christian for this one. Aristotle wrote something 2,300 years ago that nobody has ever refuted. He said man is by nature a social animal. Not that man happens to be social. Not that some men prefer company. That the human being race, by its very nature, is oriented toward others. Cut a man off from that, and you have not left him free. You have wounded him. Then Aristotle spent 2 entire books of the Nicomachean Ethics on friendship. 2 books. He put friendship at the center of the good life. He wrote, and I quote, that no one would choose to live without friends, even if he had all other goods. He did not mean acquaintances. He did not mean followers or contacts. He meant the specific relationship where 2 people know each other over time, want the good for each other, and share their lives. He said that this is not a luxury. He said it was a condition of being fully human. You do not have to be religious to see this. Any honest look at what a human being is, what our bodies do, what our brains do, what a life requires to stay sane, arrives at the same conclusion. Isolation is not natural. Isolation is a wound. And the modern reply, the culture actually gives you, is that you should be able to be fine on your own, that needing people is weakness, that the strong man is self-sufficient. That reply is not new. It is not modern. It is the old Stoic error. And Aristotle answered it he answered it 3 centuries before Christ. He said that the self-sufficient man is not a man. He is either a beast or a god, and you are neither. If you have absorbed the message that needing people makes you weak, hear this clearly. The reason you feel like that, something is missing, is because something is missing. Your body is telling you the truth. Your instinct is not a bug, it is by design. So let's move on to layer 3, the Bible. 2nd chapter of Genesis, verse 18, before the fall, before anything has gone wrong, God looks at the man he has made, and he says the first not good in Scripture. It is not good that man should be alone. Read that slowly. Not that it is inconvenient, not that it would be nicer if he had company. It's not good. In a creation account where every previous line has basically been good, God stops and says this one thing is not. This is not a footnote. This is not theological or anthropology of the whole Bible in one sentence. That's what it is. Human beings were made in the image of God, who is himself relational. Father, Son, and Spirit. Communion before creation. You were made in that image of that, which means you were made for that. Ecclesiastes says it this way: 2 are better than 1 because they have a good reward for their toil. If they fall, one will lift up the other. But who to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him. And when God himself became a man, notice what he did. He did not do it all alone. He called 12. He built a small, awkward, argumentative community of friends. And he lived his life inside of it, his entire life. Jesus did not model self-sufficient masculinity. He lived 3 years with the same handful of men. And when one of them died, he wept. So if you're watching this and you're alone, and given the numbers I just read, many of you are, I want you to hear something. You are not being told you are weak. You are being told you are human. You are being told what has been true since the 2nd chapter of Scripture. And you are being told by a God who did not stay far from you, but came and lived a human life inside a human community, because he knew that it is what a human life requires. So whatever your situation is right now, whatever went wrong, whatever left, whoever you lost, you are not defective. You are exactly the creature that God said should not be alone. Let's move on to layer 4. Distinctively Catholic. And this is where I'm going to get specific. The church has a word for what human beings were made for: communion, or koinonia in the Greek. It is not just a synonym, words for community. It is a much stronger claim. It says that persons, real, individual, unrepeatable persons, only become fully themselves in relationship with other persons. That personhood is itself relational. You do not first exist and then acquire relationships as accessories. You come into your own by giving yourself away and receiving others. The Vatican Council put it in one sentence, and every serious Catholic anthropology for the last 60 years turns on it. Gaudium et Spes, paragraph 24. Man cannot fully find himself except through a sincere gift of self. Read it again. You do not find yourself by working on yourself. You do not find yourself by optimizing yourself. You find yourself by giving yourself away, which requires someone to give yourself to. That is not a metaphor. That is the Catholic answer to what human beings fundamentally are. Now, look at what the church built to make it possible. She built a parish, not just a mass location, but a whole life. There is a reason a parish had a hall, and a bingo night, a men's club, Knights of Columbus Council, and coffee hour after Mass, and a festival in the summer. That was not just a decoration, it was by design. The parish was the original third place. It was natural ground, accessible, free, and ordered toward the highest possible thing you could talk about, which was the God who made you. Ray Oldenburg was not writing about the Catholic parish in 1989. He did not have to. The Catholic parish had been what he described for 1900 years. He was just noticing that America had lost it, and he did not know what it had lost. So here is specifically a Catholic claim. The loneliness epidemic is not just a social problem to be solved by better policy. It is the predictable consequence of a country that spent 40 years hollowing out every parish. The guild, the lodge, the union halls, every institution that made communion possible, and replaced it with screens and self-accusation. The doctrine did not change. The neighborhood did. Now, as always, here's the limitations, because this one has some real ones. Solitude is not loneliness. The church has 2,000-year tradition of the desert, of the monks in a cell. The tradition is real, and it's holy. If you find yourself drawn to real quiet with God, that is not a symptom. That is a call. Do not confuse it with what I've been describing. Introverts are not broken. Some of you have small, tight circles, and you like it that way, and you should not read this episode as an accusation. The problem is not that you have 3 good friends instead of 30. The problem is 15% of men have 0. And the awkward one, the church has often failed to be what she claims to be. Many parishes today are transcription stops. Mass in, mass out. No one knows your name. If you have gone looking for the third place inside the walls of a church and you did not find it, I believe you. That's real. This is a failure that is on us, not you. But that failure is not the reason to abandon the design. It is the reason to rebuild it. The teaching is right. The neighborhood is broken. The response is not giving up either. So if this landed, please share it. Particularly with the men you know who nobody's checked on. Not to fix them, just to reach out, check in. That is what the third place used to do without effort. Now somebody has to do it with purpose. So the next episode is going to be about attention. Screens. What the phone in your pocket is doing to your capacity to be present to anything, including the friends we just talked about. It's going to be the same structure, same honesty. Hope to see you there.